now. Okay. Hey guys, I'm here with Conservative Mexican. What's going on? Say hi.
Hello.
Hey. So yeah, I reached out to him. I'd actually been a fan of his for a while. I should have told you this. I didn't say this. You actually inspired me to start making videos in my car because.
I did?
Yeah, because I had a podcast with my friend, but no, like you, and then first you, and then I saw some other people, but just watching other people like because I think when you start doing videos, sometimes people are like, oh, they have to be perfect and they have to be like, you know what I mean, like all like technically correct and everything. But if you see people in their cars and they have something really interesting to say, and you're just like, yeah, like it's inspiring,
It's
So
funny that you say that because the first time I started doing videos, I kid you not, I would do a video for like 30 seconds and I'd be like, oh my god, I sound like an idiot, and then I would stop it. And I would do like literally 5 or 6 videos before I'd actually post one. And then I would listen to people who would talk about how to do better videos, and they would just say, do a video all the way through, and whether you like it or not, and post it, and then just keep on doing it over and over, and eventually you'll get more comfortable and really be who you are. But when you start thinking about it and you internalize, that's when you mess up. And a lot of the times when I would rewatch my videos, I was like, you know what? It really didn't sound that bad.
yeah,
So I always recommend people to make videos.
and it's kind of weird watching yourself. It's like out of body experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you know how you have an image of how you feel or how you think you are, and then you watch yourself on video, and it's weird. It's weird. It's out of body. So I had to get used to watching myself. Like I pursued acting and everything, and even when I would have to audition or do student films and watch myself, it would freak me out for a while. And now I've gotten used to it, but it's still a bit weird. You never have the perception of yourself that others have of you. It's really interesting. But I think it's good that you said that because, I think one of the reasons we're doing this too, we want more people to speak out and start making videos. And I think that might be a thing too, that people that want to speak out and make videos or get their opinion out there, they're really shy. So to know that, you know what I mean?
It's good that you mentioned that because I read a lot of philosophy. And there's a philosopher, William James, that says usually when 2 people talk, there's 6 people. It's who I think I am, who you think you are, who we think of each other, and who we actually are.
Oh, wow.
So
that's why. No, I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that you're a fan of, I'm a fan of Stefan Molyneux too, because I heard you mention him in his videos, and I like him too.
He's one of the ones that inspired me, to be honest, to doing YouTube and in general, because I watched a lot of his videos, and then I would see a lot of his videos where he would interview people, like we're doing now, just talking one-on-one, and I was like, man, that would be cool to do something like that. And like when you were talking to Kevin, and you said you're making it a mission of yours to reach out to people of color, well, I said that like a month ago in my videos, that I want to interview Hispanics that are more, right-leaning, blacks that are more right-leaning, because I feel like we have such a big opportunity to spread so much knowledge, and people have told me, like you just said, oh, I've inspired you to make videos in my car. There's some people out there that have said, thank you so much for saying what you've said. I can't say what I feel like, because like you said, my liberal friend, and I actually had somebody on my Facebook fan page, she's like, oh, I'm so afraid just to like and follow your page because all my friends are liberal. And what they're going to perceive me as just because I'm a Trump supporter or I even like conservatism. I think that's so sad that we can't even truly be who we are because we're so concerned about what other people think.
It's Gestapo 2.0.
Exactly.
But this is why, when I don't know if you, I feel like I'm like promoting myself, but one of the things that got me this, I guess I am kind of sort of, but the things that got me
stop all you want. I don't get
to do this was I made a video, talking about like, blacks aren't victims and we need to get out of this victim mentality. And I got a lot of hate, of course, from black people, but I also got a lot of likes from other black people, and I got a lot of private messages from black people too. Telling me that they were afraid. I had a professor that teaches at a prominent black university to reach out to me and tells me that he's agreed to me, but he's basically scared of his students. And I'm like, I have to interview you. He's thinking about it. I hope I can. But he's like, I'm like, you shouldn't be scared of your students should be scared of you, if anything. Not even that as a teacher, but I'm just saying, you know, just the times that we're living in is crazy. But I think when more people start to speak out, they want us to think that we're alone. We're not alone. That's the thing. That's a trick.
Definitely.
Even I get, and I'm sure you get people too said, oh, do you get people saying, oh, you're getting white people liking your comments and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. I feel like it's the same thing. Like, and the first 2 people to comment on the video I made were Native American that said that 2 of them were like, oh my God, like we have the same issue in our community. So then as more people start to comment, I realize this stretches out, you know, like not just for black people, but you know, but I also grew up around Mexicans and Latino people, so I know that like it's, you know, the whole like, you know, brown thing, you have to be a certain way, right? They're these people that tell you how to dress, how to talk, how to act, what you should think, what you should believe in, how you should vote, you know. So
like we're all in this bubble and you can't leave it or else you're a sellout. And I actually get called now an Uncle Juan.
What? Is that the equivalent? That's equivalent to like Uncle Tom?
That's the Mexican version of an Uncle Tom is an Uncle Juan.
Uncle Juan? What does say Tito Juan? Like, but they're like Uncle Juan? No, that's too funny. Is there like an equivalent to coon?
No, it's just more like a sellout. You're a disgrace. I mean, I'm light skinned, so they just see me pretty much as I'm white. Yeah. But I get called an Uncle Tom too a lot. So there's a couple people that call me Uncle Juan, but I get called a sellout, and kind of this. It's really similar to Latinos and blacks. They'll do the same thing. Oh, you're just running to your white masters and what they want, and it's like not really. I'm just kind of like I grew up educated, and my mother, you know, she wanted me to go to good schools, and I did. And I saw the difference between, you know, how I grew up and how kids in my neighborhood grew up, because the city that I live in is primarily Hispanic. And when it got to where we were going to middle school and high school, my mom took us out of the school district because she wanted us to get a better education. And so that's why I don't talk slang, ghetto. I don't say homie, what's up. Like I talk like a regular person. And exactly.
It's like, no. Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate to go to, I still went to school in the hood, but I went to like, I was in the junior high, I went to like a gifted magnet, and then high school I went to performing arts magnet. But still, even with that, it's like, you know, growing up in that environment and you go into those schools, I'm sure you've experienced it too. You're always fighting. You're fighting. You're like, I want to get an education, but you're fighting against your own people just to have a good education. And it's so weird because they're the ones that they're like, oh, the white man's trying to bring you down, but it's really them that's, in my experience, is trying to bring me down. And I'm not saying I haven't experienced racism, because I have from white people, but I'm just saying I think one of the hardest things I ever went through was racism from my own people. And I wasn't prepared for that. I was more prepared for racism by like white people or people that weren't black, but like my own people was just like, what? You know?
See, I've never really experienced racism, to be honest. I mean, the first girlfriend that I had in my life was white. You know, she was blonde hair, blue-eyed, and I've worked with white people. I've lived with white people. I've been in areas that were primarily white, and I've never experienced it. As long as you carry yourself well, you don't commit crime, you just stick with the community, it's okay. And I think we're just programmed to just be segregated. That's just humanity.
Yeah, that's part of
it. I think
I think I haven't experienced it. Honestly, I've experienced more racism in LA than I have in Texas. But
really?
Then I haven't been in Texas that long. But yeah, I mean, I can see that, and I think, you know, looking at college and how they're also like programming these kids that, you know, to be wary of like microaggressions. It's programming them to look for racism. So I kind of also think that like you get in a certain mindset, you kind of draw it to you because you're looking for it all the time.
Mm-hmm. It's that mentality. It's like that's what they want you to be. So if you're constantly in fear, you're constantly going to be looking for that next thing behind your shoulder. And I think that's what the left wants us to do, is constantly be on edge and to be thinking there's somebody out there, some boogeyman that's trying to oppress us and be so hateful towards us. But since you're bringing up college, like, I mean, do you know what's been going on like at Berkeley and all the college campuses whenever they try to have speakers on there like Milo or Ben Shapiro? It's insane. But what it does though, it gives me so much more motivation to make videos because it's just seeing one side, what the media is telling them. I mean, I remember Ben Shapiro was going to Berkeley, and they were calling him a Nazi, and he's Jewish.
I know, and with the yarmulke and everything, like. Well, they call Milo a Nazi, and he's Jewish and he's gay. You know, like.
Oh, is Milo Jewish?
He's Jewish and he's gay, and it's weird because it's like, do these people know what white supremacy is? They don't even know the tenets of like white supremacy. Like it's like, or Nazi. It's like they don't have a large vocabulary, so they can't like, you know, when they somebody they don't like, they'll just call them a white supremacist. And then I've been called a racist white supremacist myself. Who knew? You know? So, I don't know. I think that, I mean, I'm glad that this is happening. I'm glad in like every time I seem like, it seems like I turn on YouTube, there's a new person, a color. I checked out the girl. I'm going to reach out to her too. Ariana Jade.
Yes.
I checked her out, and she's really cool. And I'm going to interview another woman who's black, who's starting to make videos named Hope Coleman. So it's going to be, I'm excited about this. I want to get at least 10 interviews, and my idea is to kind of compile them all into like one article and kind of talk about this whole thing. And then, you know, that's the deal.
Would this be something that you could see yourself doing like long term?
Yeah, I love music, and I love like journalism and interviewing people. So yeah. So we actually, my friend and I, April, we've been around since 2011, but we did podcasts. We didn't do videos. And I think she actually started doing little rants, and we had our YouTube for a long time, but we never really promoted it. But now I think I've had more confidence to start like putting my face out there. I mean, made a few videos here and there, but now I'm actually having fun with it. So yeah, definitely.
I've seen a few of them, and they're awesome. I mean, it's like I said, when I started making videos, it was like, I'm just going to go out there, say what's on my mind, and that's it. And well, not really surprising, but a bunch of people were like, yep, you know what? I agree with you 100%, and I've been thinking the same thing, but I can't say it in public because people are going to say all these things, that you're a racist, you're a sexist, you don't know what you're talking about. But when you have people tell you that they're thinking the exact same thing, it just inspires you to make them more and more.
Yeah. And then once they see you speaking out, I think people will start to develop thicker skin, and then also too, like they'll start to develop better arguments, because once you have knowledge about certain things, and then you're out talking to somebody, these brainwashed libtards, you know, and you can outwit them, and they feel dumb, then you actually not just affect the person that you're fighting, but you affect other people around that are listening. That because even in Facebook, one thing I noticed, you know, even though there might not be people liking, but they're always or commenting, there are always people reading. There are always people watching. So you don't know who's watching you and who's commenting you on your video. Who's not commenting that agrees with you.
Right. I've accepted the fact that there's people that I'm not going to be able to reach. Like you said, the far left is just, they are set in their ways, and they're going to think no matter what. But I'm more looking for the person that's in the middle, because that's what I was.
Middle ground, yeah, we're in the middle ground, and I think there are more people in the middle than on, and I think both sides are kind of fighting for those people. You know,
and I think we should truly be in the middle.
Good and evil, but we're trying to get the ones get the ones in the middle.
Yeah, and personally, I think that's where we all should be, in the middle. You know, I this whole notion of left and right, right and wrong. Most people, if you really sit down and be honest, we have so much more in common than we are different, that if you just, you know, instead of being here and here, try to go here and just build on that.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. We all want the same things. We're just we have different perspectives and ways on how to try and get them done, and that's the thing. But to me, I keep thinking it. I don't know if you're a spiritual person or whatever, but I kind of think, to me, I kind of look at it. If you're not spiritual, maybe think of it as a psychological war or something, because a lot of it, I think, has to do with personal pride, and a lot of people not wanting to admit that they've been bamboozled and that they've been tricked. And, you know, if you just admit that you're wrong, it's okay. Like, people, People take it personally. They think that it makes them a bad person or that they were stupid, and they don't want to be that person, or they have to contemplate all the times and all the people that they were mean to by the things that they said. They have to be like,
it's more fear. I
huh?
think it's fear. Like if you start to, like you said, as far like it's similar to victimhood mentality. And if you have a conversation with somebody politically and you go in a debate and you come out of it on the losing end, then you're going to start questioning everything about yourself. If I was defeated here, maybe I'm wrong about this or that, or the person that I chose to be with, or the place I choose to live, my occupation, things that I like. So for some people, I believe it's just easier to say, you know what, this person is crazy. They don't know what they're talking about, and that's it. Go out about it there.
You have to do the inner work, and a lot of people don't want to do that. And I was such an Obama head like the first year, and I had to admit that I was wrong. It was hard. It was hard.
Yeah.
It was like, and luckily my parents are supportive, but, they still support Obama. And I think it's kind of hard for them because they went through like real racism, like Jim Crow. And, I think I said in Kevin's video, my dad has had relatives lynched in Colorado and like that kind of crazy racism. And so I think for them, Obama was a symbol of something, that they could be. So it's kind of hard to like break them out of that. But at the same time, they're not falling for this crazy SJW stuff either, because they're just like, what is this, like microaggressions? Like, I went through real racism. My dad's always saying like, these people are like, they need to get a thicker skin. They're wussies. they're pansies.
Well, I'm trying to figure out like if the racism back then, because I know it was real between blacks and whites. I'm trying to figure out if that was political or if that was just actual racism, because to me, I don't believe in racism. I think it's just prejudice and just differences in people.
Different what?
Differences in people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if we just focus on that rather than racism, I think all this just go away. Because a lot of Hispanics, they're very conservative socially.
Yeah.
And we only go the left route because of immigration. And because of that, if you're on the right and you're against immigration, they call you a racist, but that has nothing to do with racism. It has everything to do with the culture of America, and they don't want a specific group of people in there because they feel like it's going to destroy the country, and it has nothing to do with the color of your skin.
Yeah.
And I get told all the time, oh, they want to throw your beaner ass there too, and it's like, I don't believe so, because I'm illegal. My grandparents came here legally.
Well, I think it's kind of like, I think you're right. I think some of it was political. I think with the Klan and certain like the racism with white people that my dad has described that he's gone through. I think when it's hardcore, when you're like a psychopath, when you're willing to kill people and tar and feather people, you're mind fucked in a sense that you really see those people as a threat. I'm not justifying what they're doing, but they're thinking blacks are going to kill them or are going to take away their jobs or are going to mix with them, and there's not going to be any more of their race. So for them, they're people that are that extreme. To them, it's about survival. That's why they're willing to kill. Like I said, I'm not justifying it, but yeah, I've thought about this too. And I also think it's a defense mechanism. So, like, if say you go live in a different country. Have you ever been to a different country and lived there or whatever?
No, always been in America.
You have time. You can always go out. But I really thought about this. I lived in Taiwan for 2 years. So it was just really interesting for me being in a place where they all spoke Chinese. I like to think I'm, fairly well read and everything, but I'm automatically put in, huh?
How did they treat you there?
Oh, it was great. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah. But let me just say this. So when I went there, though, it was just really crazy because I was automatically illiterate. I couldn't read anything. I couldn't speak. I couldn't understand what people were saying about me. So you're in this very vulnerable place, and you become really dependent on people to help you. And I'm really independent. So for me, that was really hard at first for me to accept people's help. At the same time, I was very wary of other people. So if so I'm just saying in the reverse, I'm thinking about people that come here and they've never met a black person before. And the first experience with the black person is cursing them out and calling them Chinese when they're Japanese, and that's an insult. That's a whole nother insult within itself. But maybe you put up a defense mechanism and be like, okay, well, I'm not gonna fuck with those people, because my first experience with them was they cursed me out and threw stuff at me and called me names. I don't want to be hurt like that again, so I'm gonna steer away from these people. Does that make sense? I kind of think that like it also is that I think it's different things for different people. I don't think it's just one thing. And people like to say, oh, it's just ignorance. I mean, yeah, kind of, sort of, but I think it's a little more complex than just saying that people are ignorant. Mm-hmm. You know. And you can be raised to, you know, to be racist as well. But I think a lot of people put up that defense mechanism because they don't want to get hurt, you know, and that's why. Right. I don't know. That's my thing. Okay, wait. Let me ask you. First question, because we veered off. I knew we were going to veer off, but first, have to ask this during each interview. Why did you leave the Democratic plantation, or were you always on the Democratic plantation?
I wasn't on the Democratic plantation, to be honest. I was, for the most of my life, I was never political. Okay. I grew up from a single mother of 3 kids. We grew up poor. And when I was of age, I started working. Because the fact that we were poor, I wanted to be able to provide for the family. So I guess you could say when I started working, that's when I became more conservative leaning. Because I realized if you want to eat, you got to work. Yeah. And I work retail. I work for a retail grocery store.
Paid did you work? Retail grocery store?
Yeah, I still work there now. I've been there for about 17 years.
Oh, wow.
And I get paid pretty well. I'm in management. And so once I started working, all our problems went away. So I developed that mindset to where you got to work for what you get. And I would see people that are on welfare. Hardworking, I mean, people that need help, but you would see how they would get dependent on the system. So I've always been against welfare from the beginning. Yeah. So from that perspective, I've always been kind of on the right, but socially I was more open, you know, because people would talk about racism. I would hear stories about people that were, you know, called names and, you know, stuff that would get written on their walls. Like, how could you deny that there's racism? You know, it's happening. It wasn't really until Trump got elected, to be honest, like right around that time where the conversations of immigration started happening, that I became more like completely away from the plantation, because when he made that comment about Mexicans being rapists, criminals, and drug dealers, I didn't interpret it that way, because he literally said he's bringing in all. He's bringing. Sorry, go on, but like. He goes, some are good people. So it's like, if he's saying some are good people, he can't be calling all Mexicans this, because some entails a percentage. Yeah. And I was like, that's total BS. You know, that's not even at all what he's saying. Yeah. And so even before Trump, though, I was always more in the middle. And this is gonna sound really weird, though, but when I live in California, Orange County, and growing up, you know, most Hispanics, blacks, we listen to rap music. And growing up, I loved rap. I love, you know, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Ice Cube. And I would listen to a lot of Tupac. Yeah. And the thing I loved about him was that he had his hardcore mentality, but he was also very compassionate, you know, very empathetic. He understood that, there's going to be people out there that are out there to get you. But deep down, it's us. It's on to us to sit there and do what we can to help each other out. Yeah. And he said, I'm going to be the spark that's going to change the world one day. And, I mean, unfortunately, got shot and killed, but I've always had that mentality where it's like, no, you know, like the left will try to sit here and say, oh, Trump's a horrible person and we're good. I don't think anybody's completely good or bad. You know, we're all in the middle. Yeah.
But about the left, they just have this moral, like, unabashed self-righteousness that's just unbelievable. Like, I've never seen anything like it. It's scary because they feel like they can do whatever they feel like they need to do because they feel justified, and they don't even have the I don't say the compassion to really talk to people and try and figure out where they're from or where they're coming from, you know? Because
they're afraid of the conversation, because they don't want you to talk. They don't want me and you to have this conversation.
Yeah.
They want me and you to just be indoctrinated that the white man is evil, Republicans hate us, and just vote for me, and then I'll give you free stuff. Yeah. You know, this of us, I want to work for what we have. Like you said, there's a pride that we have in human beings that we want to work and grow and have things for, and just know that we did it on our own. Yeah. And I feel like, you know, relying on the government takes that away.
They don't want us to have that power. They don't want us to be empowered like that. Like, I honestly think that people do fall on hard times, and that people do need welfare. I was on welfare. I mean, my mom, we were on Section 8. We got food stamps. We had Medi-Cal. But we worked out of it. My mom, she wasn't on it for forever. Just while we needed that at the time. And I've always had a strong work ethic, too. I haven't really, I don't think people just take advantage of the system. But I think that, like, if you're just collecting money, it does something to your soul. It keeps you stunted. It keeps you emotionally stunted and dependent. And I think Kevin made a really good analogy about the dogs. And I was like, I'm going to have to use that analogy because it's so excellent. He was talking about, if you guys didn't see it, about how he has dogs, and because he's trained them to come to a bowl and get his food, then they're not, if you left him outside, they don't know how to hunt and they'll die. So they're dependent on him for food. And when you're dependent on somebody, you're basically beholden to them, and you'll do anything for them. And that's how they get their power. That's how they get their minions. That's how they get the people that are fighting so viciously for them.
Have you seen stuff? I mean, you've got to have seen it. Stefan Molyneux's The Story of Your Enslavement?
Yeah, a while ago. I just don't remember it. But yes, that the title seems familiar. Just what are you gonna say from it? What are you gonna? Go ahead.
That's basically like where we are. We're at a point where we're so afraid to fail and be on our own that we just kind of more or less stick to the government because we know it's more of a safety net. And if we fall down, they're always going to be there to pick us up. And we just stay there, and we never really grow as human beings because we're so dependent on them to tell us what to think, what to watch, what to wear, what's acceptable. And in reality, it's like we're still enslaved, but more mentally.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. It is. We are. I think people are breaking that conditioning on this enslavement, or you know what I mean. They're breaking it, but yeah, we are. We very much. We are, and it's very it's just very frustrating because I want us to do better as a species, as a human race, because I think this is part of the divide and conquer. First, you divide the human race up into categories, and then within those sects of the ethnicities and the races, then you divide them up. Have you heard of the Willie Lynch speech? Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
So I know there's a debate whether it was true, whether this was a real guy, and he had a real speech, or whether it was made up as an example to understand like how the slaves were kept under control, because a lot of the plantations, the slaves outnumber the masters like 10-1. Maybe there was a family of 10, but they had like 100 slaves. So, and there were revolts. We were not taught a lot about that, but you would think that there would be more revolts, that slaves would figure it out and be like, oh, like there are 100 of us and 10 of them. We can fucking kill them, and it'll be done, But so the speech goes something like this. I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically turn the light-skinned blacks against the dark-skinned blacks, turn the tall against the short, the old against the young, whatever, any difference that you can find, the opposite, and turn them against each other, the men against the women. And that's how they were kept, kind of like in this cycle of fighting each other. So they're too busy looking at the people that are really enslaving them and doing something about that. And you can apply that, you can take that from not just African American slavery, but you can apply that to the human race. How basically we're turned to look over here while people that are really enslaving us are over here. And it's not just a white thing, it's the elitists, it's the globalist, right? And that's the thing too. So then you have all the people of color being angry at white people You're like, oh, it's all the white people, but it's like there are white people that are struggling, that are on welfare, that are, you know, have it hard too, you know. So, yeah.
That's what I've always found it amazing is that, like, as a Black American, whenever you talk to people, how do they ignore the fact that the Democrats were the ones that did slavery? Like, the KKK, they were Democrats.
They don't know. I didn't know. I didn't know until like last year or year before last. I didn't know. I never thought about it. I think that, you know, I was being a teacher too, just kind of looking at the curriculum and what's taught and what's not. Thinking about has made me flash back as a student and thinking about what I was and wasn't taught in school. And then going back into school and looking at the books and seeing what's taught, I'm like, oh, you know, and then you look at like, you know, like people like Bill Gates and other elitists who have a hand in the education system. They're gonna, like, you know, write the history books. You know, he has ties to, I don't know if he owns, but he has a Pearson education. They read a lot of books. And even scarier, as an English teacher, they have a lot of hand in English and in English materials for people that are learning English. So when you're learning different language, you're learning English, people coming from different countries, they shape their perception of things too, because they don't really have anything to compare it to because they're learning this in English. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I think people just don't know. And then when you tell them, they think that you're lying because they haven't bothered to look it up. And, you know, so.
Like, I didn't even know about any of that until, have you heard of Dinesh D'Souza?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I listen to him talk, I'm just like, oh my God, I have so much to learn.
I know. I feel like I know nothing. Yeah. You've been lied to about everything. We gotta, like, you know, it's crazy. So you didn't know that?
What what was that?
You didn't know that until Dinesh D'Souza? You saw that movie that he did? Is that what you're talking about, the movie that he did, or did you before the movie? What was the documentary?
No, before the movie, because he does a lot of speeches at college campuses, and, you know, kids would ask him questions about slavery, the economy, immigration, and that was one of his big topics, was the big lie, the switch. You know, supposedly that originally, you know, the Democrats went from being the party of the KKK and slavery to being all of a sudden, you know, we love you and we want to help you. And if you really believe that, like, let's say people think Trump's a white supremacist and he's a Nazi. So what you're basically saying what happened was, a long time ago, there was a guy like Trump, and all of a sudden he just changed his heart. He became a good-loving, you know, Democrat. Like, you wouldn't believe that impossible thinking he can do that now. What made you think that they did that back then? They're the same people. They just changed their methods. You know, they know they can't physically enslave you anymore, but now it's more mentally. We're going to pit you guys against each other. Like you said, pit each other based upon your skin color, your age, your weight, you know, man, woman, tall, fat, skinny, short. That's their end game.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it is. And it's like, once we, not realizing we all need to eat, we all want shelter, we all want, you know, a place of, I don't know, a place of solace. And we all want, you know, like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Mm-hmm.
You know that? So, like, at the top, for those of you that don't know, you can probably Google Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Abraham Maslow, he was a psychologist. So there's this pyramid, and it goes from bottom to top. The bottom is like, what is it, like security, right? Food, shelter. And then, like, the next one is, like, family, belonging. And then there's a couple more. Then there's, like, esteem. And then at the top is self-realization. So we can't get to that self-realization if we're constantly being down here worrying about food and how we're going to eat and shelter and safety and all this stuff. So they have to keep us down here so we can't get up to here. And that's how they do it. And they don't want us to get to the point where we are now, where we're talking to each other, where we have self-realization and we're realizing our, you know, our power. Where we become self-empowered and self-governing. They don't want that because they feed off of our power.
And that's the hardest part for me, because it's not like I don't understand somebody's perspective. Like, you know, when we talk about welfare or immigration or racism, yeah, I get that. Things like that do exist, but, like, let's say, for example, something like Black Lives Matter and police brutality. Like, what's causing all this? why are there so many police in black neighborhoods? The same thing for Hispanics. A lot of Hispanics talk about the cops being, racist, and they're always, going to discriminate against you. But I always ask them, do you think maybe if there weren't people committing crime, we wouldn't need cops? Like, or if you're on welfare, like, why are you on welfare? Is it because your mom and dad split? Maybe we should focus more on the family. Like, you know who Jesse Lee Peterson is?
Well, yeah, no, totally. What did you say?
Have you heard of Jesse Lee Peterson?
Yes, Jesse Lee Peterson, the old guy. Yeah.
Yeah, like something like that. Like he focuses on the family, and that's one thing that the left doesn't talk about. Like when it comes to crime and poverty, it has everything to do with the destruction of the family. I mean, Lyndon Johnson, that's like I didn't know about that either. And when I heard about it, I was like, how do blacks not know about this? Lyndon Johnson went into black Americans' homes and said, we're gonna do a war on poverty, but there can't be two people in the household. So black fathers willingly left to get benefits for the family. And ever since then, if you look at the poverty rates, the crime, it just goes up, and up. So it's like, instead of focusing on, not only focusing on the problem, but how to ensure that the problem doesn't happen to begin with. That's the part that I have a hard time when I talk to people, because it's like, yes, like, why are you poor? Why are you upset? Why are you sad? Is it something that you're doing? But no, they want you to always be like, nope, this person, that person, that person. And I think that's where I became more, like you said, off the plantation, because I am this year 8 years sober.
Oh, wow.
I guess, like I said before, I grew up single mother, broken home. So I wanted to have a family as early as possible. I wanted to get that love and attention that I feel like I didn't get as a child, because my mom was working, my dad wasn't there. And I got into a relationship in my early 20s. I was going to get married, do the whole 9 yards, and have a kid. So it was a girl that I went to high school with. And 6 months into us dating, she got pregnant. But she had just had a baby with somebody else. So she wasn't ready to have another kid. So, and it went against everything about who I am. And so we had an abortion. She didn't want it. And it completely destroyed me. And because it was me, like, I felt like she didn't love me. If she did, she would have had it. Just so many thoughts went in my mind. So because of that, I broke down. I was drinking. I almost lost my job. And but luckily I survived. I had a great support system around me, friends, family, work. And once I got clean, I wanted to, just little by little, I wanted to start working on myself. I started reading philosophy, psychology, getting rid of all my debt. But the one thing that stuck with me my whole life is, no matter what happens in life, you have to put everything on your own shoulders. Yes. Good or bad, everything that happens is your responsibility.
Very true.
Because the minute you start blaming somebody else, like you said, you're always going to blame somebody else.
They have power over you. And then it can happen to you again. But if you put the responsibility on yourself and you take responsibility, then you have the power to never let that happen to you ever again. You know? Like, and I think that's the thing, that people don't want to take responsibility. And it's not like it's easy. It's really hard. I get it. But you have to.
You said, admitting that you're wrong. It's hard to do, because, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female. Yeah. Somebody proving you wrong, it's like, no.
Yeah.
Go talk to you,
Especially after years and years of indoctrination, and then you have to go out and say the opposite of what your family and friends believe. It's not easy. But once you get to the other side, it's very empowering, and I don't regret it at all, And do you want me asking you, like, the whole abortion thing? I've had a lot of guy friends that have dealt with that, and they've told me, like, how it's destroyed them, and that's not even talked about. They always talk about, oh, it's the women's right, and it's all about the woman, and blah, 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 blah. But it really, really fucks with men, too. It really does.
Especially with me, because, like I said, coming from a broken home, it's what I had always wanted. I always wanted to have a family, and there was that part of me that was like, okay, if she's saying that she doesn't want to have a kid, is it because of me, or is it because of the circumstances that we were in? And I struggled with that for a long time. So whenever it comes to the topic of abortion and we talk about women's rights, I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, it takes two people to have a kid. Yeah, so why is it only one person's, decision?
Have you seen that movie, The Red Pill?
The red pill, I have not.
I'll see if I can see a link to the trailer, and you can probably watch it on YouTube or Netflix or something. But it's about this woman who actually was a feminist, and she was doing a documentary on feminism and everything. And then I guess as a challenge, I might be getting the story a little bit wrong, but as a challenge to her boyfriend or somebody, she came across like the men's rights movement. And she thought it was like a joke. She's like, whatever, but she starts investigating it. She starts digging deeper. So her experience led her to completely do a 180 on her movie and make it about men's rights and the things that men go through. And of course, her movie has been banned, kicked out of festivals, tried to suppress it and stuff. Because that's another thing. I think that's another element of the divide and conquer. They don't want men to, they either lift one up. This is how the game works too. Like, you gotta make one side appear more privileged than the other, whether it's true or not, right? So, like, for people of color, it would be white people. For women, it would be men. And then that creates the animosity, right? Because then the women are like, oh, you're privileged. And the men are like, no, you're privileged. No, you're privileged. And you butt heads, And then you kind of suppress one side. You have to suppress one side so they can't really have a conversation about it. And it gets really weird. So, it's very interesting. But, what else?
No.
Huh?
But actually, and the scary part is I don't think people really realize, like, the whole feminist movement, it actually makes us guys less empathetic towards women. Because there's a lot of good-hearted guys that have been shut down by women. Like, this totally destroyed because they're compared to that chauvinistic guy.
Yeah.
And no matter what they do, that woman's always going to think he's out to get her for something. He's trying to oppress her. He's just going to try and screw her, and that's it. And guys get tired of it after a while. Totally. Like that, and then also the whole rise of Trump. Like, all these people that are voting for Trump that were white, I get it. Because you get told your whole life that you're a racist and you're a bad person because of your skin. That gets old after a while. Yeah. And if anything, they don't understand. The left will never take responsibility for the alt-right.
Yes.
Like the far right. The real Nazis in Charlottesville. That's the left. A lot of those are probably white kids that say, you know what? No matter what I do, I'm going to be the bad guy, so I got to stick to mine.
Yeah.
My circle. And that's...
Defense mechanism, I'm telling you, right? So in that sense, it's a defense mechanism. They want safety. They're going to look for safety on their own. They can't find it, And same thing with Black Lives Matter. Like, that's the other extreme, They for whatever reason, I feel like a lot of these people, they're maybe it's their defense mechanism because they feel whether they are just in feeling that because of experiences that they've had or they've been just brainwashed to be in fear, but because they're fearful, they're like, oh, I gotta don't talk to white people, don't blah 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 blah, and it's so weird. Like, did you ever see that video with that girl? She was talking about like whites. It was like their DNA's an abomination, or I can't think. It was like it was it's something about like being white and something about like they aren't human. They aren't human. Whites really aren't human. And it's interesting because knowing something about Black history, I'm like, that's interesting because wasn't there a time when white people said that about us, about Black people? Like it's the cycle it's a cycle, And I totally get what you mean about the feminists because a lot of these women are like, I want to hang around a lot of these women, like as a woman, And I've also known some very psychotic men, but I think like maybe they've had experiences with psychotic men, so in their case, they're reacting and it becomes this vicious cycle. Not justifying any of it, but I think like instead of, like you said, taking responsibility and not even saying that what happened to them was just, but like, where did I go wrong? What did I see? How can I, like, if you're being a woman that's abused, but you keep going back to the guys abusing you, like, how, like, what do you...
Well, at one point, when is it your fault to be like...
Yeah. Hello. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. But I mean, you keep going back, right? You keep going back to the. I mean, I'm not saying you deserve to be hit, but you keep going back, or you saw signs that he was an abusive person before. Before you got involved, and vice versa. I've had guys.
Yeah.
April and I.
This is gonna sound kind of weird, but like I said, once again, before I got into politics, like I was just regular working class guy, work, go out, hang out with friends. I used to watch a lot of Judge Judy. Have you ever seen Judge Judy? And I would always see cases where this girl is suing the guy because he's a loser. He did all this. The girl spends the whole 5 minutes talking about how bad of a guy he is, and Judge Judy would go, "Well, didn't you pick him?" And then they would just sit there like, yeah. And it's like, we don't really have that kind of thought anymore to where it's like, if we're at a certain point in life, these are decisions that we made over and over and over again. Those decisions become habits.
Yeah.
So where you are in life right now a lot of it is your own personal choices. And if we just focus on that, and out of all this racism and hatred, just focus on you. Do what you can do to better your life and the people in your house and your brother and sister, your wife, and
And saying that, the MGTOW, do you know MGTOW?
Yeah.
That's like a reaction to the crazy feminists.
It is.
And I'm like, some of them, I kind of don't blame them, but then in the same, like you're saying, like, I'm like, did you ever see Stefan Molyneux when he did a comment on MGTOW?
The first time that I saw Stefan Molyneux was 9 Reasons to Date a Single Mom Rebutted.
Oh, wow.
And some magazine that was, trying to empower women and say you should date a single mom because of all this and all the qualities that they have. And that he watched that and then he just did the exact opposite. It was why you shouldn't date a single mom. But MGTOW is a response to feminism. It's like, why can a girl hit it? Huh?
They're just as extreme. They're not like but I'm like, April, my partner, she did, or the other owner of the page, she did a video talking about feminism and stuff and how she sees it as kind of like a transhumanist globalist agenda with the MGTOW, because it's getting them to like fight each other and also just like not procreate. And the feminists were like, we're gonna get male sex robots, and the MGTOW were like, we're gonna get female sex robots, and we're both like, gross. Like, how's it ever gonna replace intimacy? But it's
the women sex robots they're out right now.
No, I know there are male ones too.
Well, there've always been male ones.
But it's funny to me. Well, okay, no, but full-on robots, not just a part.
That's been around for you guys for a long time.
But it's funny because it's just like, so we got all these people just like swarmed our page, like MGTOW people just like attacked us. We were like, dang, we had no idea. Like, we weren't even trying to. Basically, I made one, she made one. We were talking about, like, take responsibility. Can you see if that girl that you think is really hot is, is crazy? Do your friends and family, are they telling you that she's crazy, or do you see red flags, or are you just focused on her looks? And I kind of noticed, it seems like, I've had guy friends too, where you're like, hey, what do you think of my girlfriend? And you're like, yeah, she's going to take your money and destroy your life. And they're like, you don't know her like I do. And then like 2 years later, she took my money and destroyed my life. And we're like, and it's like, I'm not saying again they're horrible people. They're horrible men and women. I've had friends that have been screwed over by psychotic crazy men and vice versa, psychotic crazy women. It happens. But especially if they keep doing the same pattern over and over again, you're like, how do you not, why are you attracting this, There is attachment theory. Have you heard of that?
Attachment theory?
Attachment theory?
No.
Certain types are attracted to each other, and it's basically, and I'm not explaining it the best way I can, but it's like, you gotta kind of
I've probably heard about it.
You gotta resolve that issue of why you're attracted to certain people. So, like,
Like
you might have a nice guy.
to remind them of their father or something like that.
Maybe. Yeah, a lot of it's mother and father issues.
That's why I like listening to Stefan Monu, because he would take in a caller, and then the opening, question would be something, and he would just go definitely right into like the person's past, their history, their family life, and
a lot of it is that, yeah.
He'd be like, "Oh, is this person like your dad?" Or, "Oh, this person sounds kind of like your mom." And the person would be like, "Oh, I never thought about it that way."
Yeah, and it's true, and it's and I love the fact that he's doing that for men, because I think a lot of men are missing that. You know what I mean? Like, they really need that. It's beautiful. I love it. Like, as a woman, I get some of it, but I really think a lot of the men that call in and talk with him about that stuff, like, that's so needed in our society. I don't know.
We're not allowed to be weak or emotional. We're supposed to be strong and tough and be able to have anything. And it's like, we hurt too. We cry.
You cry.
I never liked getting dumped. I remember my first girlfriend. When we broke up, I bawled like a baby. But
I had a guy friend. Like, every time he broke up with girls, he'd punch holes in the walls. So it was the first apartment at a high school. Him and my other best friend had like all these holes in the wall. Because we're like, that was Susan and that was Ginny.
What the hell, you're getting ready to break up in a relationship?
Huh?
You're like telling them, don't come to my house if you're getting ready to end a relationship.
Totally, like,
I like my walls.
Yeah, no, totally. So I don't know. I think we're talking about male, female, MGTOW, all that stuff. The extremists, how they create each other.
Yeah, I actually never seen a video where they did a study or like an experiment, and it was a guy and a girl, and the first one would be, the girl would go up to the guy and they would start arguing in public, and they would be screaming and yelling, and usually the girl screaming at the guy, and she would film and slapping them, and people would just watch and look at them and do nothing. But when it was the other way around, and the guy was screaming at a girl, and the minute the guy lays a hand on the girl, immediately people would jump in.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're about equality, you should be, if a girl hits a guy, you should be like, hey, stop that.
Yeah.
But people don't. But if a guy hits a girl, many people just swarm in, because that's not the thing you're supposed to do. And I think that was a big thing. Remember that whole issue with Jay-Z and Beyonce's sister?
No, what happened?
Was it? It was either Jay-Z or Beyonce's sister, or I think it was a football player that hit a girl after she hit him, and it was all over the social media. He was a famous football player, and people were saying, "Oh, how could he do this? A man's not supposed to do that." And there was a big divide, because there was a lot of women too that were like, "Look, if you're gonna hit a guy, be prepared to get hit back."
Exactly. My mom told me that.
Actually, Whoopi Goldberg did that. Whoopi Goldberg, I'm pretty sure you've seen The View. But that was one of the things that she was like, don't expect the guy to be chivalrous. If you're going to hit a guy, there's going to be a point where he might hit you back. And if you don't want that, then don't hit the guy.
Yeah. I mean, men are fucking strong, though. They're super, excuse my language. They're super, I mean, but I wouldn't hit a guy knowing, I've never hit a guy like, slap or anything, because I know I'm like, by reflex, if he hits me back, it'll probably break my face.
I remember when I was in high school. I always remember this to this day, because this is why, like I said, I've always had a specific belief. I remember when I was a freshman in high school, I saw this guy, small, skinny guy too, go up to this girl, really popular girl, very attractive, and he slapped her in the ass, because everybody thought she was fine and all that, and she turns around and she decks him, punches him in the face, flat out cold. So there's some women out there, though, that'll kick your ass. I've met quite a few of them.
Yeah, but she probably knew how to punch.
Yeah, well, she was kind of, she was kind of a ghetto girl.
Okay, so she knew how to fight. But, I mean, just playing around with some of my guy friends, I've gotten accidentally hurt. Like, men don't know their own strength. I'm not saying, as a teacher, I would have to, I remember there was this one boy, and this girl hit him. No, this girl... They were fighting, and this girl got mad at him. She kicked him between the legs. Mm-hmm. And he hit her. And, I mean, I had her suspended, of course. But, he was being reprimanded for hitting a girl by other people. And he was like, why is it, like 10 years old, he's like, why is it a girl can hit a guy, but a boy can't hit a girl? And I was like, I never really thought about it. And I kind of have to explain to him, I was like, I know it's not right, but I know there is like this thing in society, because men are physically strong, that they can unwittingly do more damage to a woman. I'm not saying it's right. You know what I mean?
No.
I'm just saying, I think that's just a perception. Huh?
I would go against the whole equality thing, because that's the feminist thing, to be equal. We're not equal.
We're not equal. We're not.
I can do a man that a woman can't do, and there's things that a woman can do that I'll never be able to do, and I'm okay with that. I don't think it makes one of us superior to the other one. I think it's up to us as men and women to find out what our strengths and weaknesses are and come together.
Exactly, and that's the yin and the yang. That's how become the whole. We find the balance, right? Mm-hmm. If we were both equal, it's not really. It's the to me I see the equal is the balance between that right. The women is the yang and yin, and the men's the yang, but they're different. But yeah, but I told him that I was just like. Yeah, I never thought about it, but I had to like, oh, well, I guess I'm like, and not saying that's right, and I never, but there are women that think that too, and I've seen, or I've heard of women being like, hitting guys. When a guy did it a while ago, he was in an abusive relationship with his first wife, and he was saying that, like, she would just hit him and be like, you can't hit me, I'm a girl, I'm a woman, you're not going to hit me, and he'd just take it, because he'd just be like, he didn't want to hit her back,
And then she hits him, she calls the police, and he goes to jail.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And she knows this. Women know that.
I knew somebody else too that was like fighting with the no, he wasn't fighting with her, but she was beating him up, and he restrained her. He didn't hit her, but he restrained her. But he was holding on to her so hard that he left bruises on her, and he went to jail because it's bullshit, It's bullshit. And it's funny. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. It's like about the male-female relationship. I'm a Lyft driver, and I meet all kinds of people. And I met this really nice guy. This kid. I'm calling him a kid. And he was talking about like how he just broke up with this girl, and how he can't find. Is he ever gonna find a girl? And we were talking about relationships and advice and stuff. And the last girl that he dated, I was like, he was talking about like she was crazy, and from what he was saying, she sounded like she was emotionally unstable. So I was like, well, don't worry about it. You probably, you dodged a bullet and stuff. And he was like, no, but I'm so sad. I was like, well, what did you like about her? He was like, she was hot. I was like, okay. We all want somebody that's attractive. I was like, what else? He was like, she's smaller than me, so I can pick her up with one hand. I was like, okay. I was like, what else? He's like, she's really impressionable. And I was just like, it was so weird because
we all are at first.
Huh?
We all are pretty impressionable at first.
I know, but it was just funny just because I felt like he didn't really understand how shallow he was being. Because he was being shallow, he's attracting shallow women as well. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of, I was like, okay.
Did you tell him that?
Not that bluntly, but I didn't use the word shallow, but I was just basically, well, maybe you should focus on other things about a woman. Of course you want somebody you're attracted to, but you also should look for other things about that person. Like, does she make you laugh? Is she smart? Like, does she want to build things with you? Does she have an interest in, like, I said it like that. I wasn't like, yeah, dude, you're shallow. I didn't say it like that. He was obviously hurting. I didn't want to, like, he's similar fragile. Huh?
When you're young, that's pretty much what you focus on because it's just, it's looks. And it's all over the media and everything in Hollywood. Everything's all about who looks good like this, who's the guy with the big muscles and the big biceps but there's more to being with somebody than just looks because they don't last forever. We all get old, unfortunately.
It gets boring. And you being from California, like there are a lot of, because of the entertainment industry, there are a lot of very vapid people that are physically good looking that come to California, but like, I just get bored. So if you don't have anything else besides that, I'm like bouncing. I'm just like, whoop, I'm out, So I don't know. I think that, I don't know. It's all about taking responsibility. I think but it's hard to tell people that because I don't think they take it personally, but I don't think either of us are trying to be vindictive or spiteful by saying that. We're just trying to be honest because that's what we see. Why do you think? Why do you think that you were able to kind of wake up or escape from that? And do you have other family members that are like that? Do you talk?
I have a few cousins on my mom's side that were Trump supporters, more right leaning because they were in the military. I have one couple that are in the military. One that's actually a cop. But once again, I think because of the fact that I've always been a working class man. You know, like I said, from the minute I turned 16, I worked for everything that I've had. So I've always had that take care of myself mentality. I've never had that, okay, let's go to the government, ask for welfare. So I never got any of that. And when I got clean, that's when I started working on myself, trying to figure out who I am. I read a lot of before I got into philosophy, I got into psychology, figuring out how the human brain works.
I wish more people knew about that too. I think psychology should be something that's standard.
Should be in high school.
Yeah.
To figure out all this and that, and why people, if anything, like you said, it's not more that people are racist. It's because when you see something that's not what you're used to, you're gonna shy away from that because it's like, okay, that makes me feel kind of uncomfortable, And if we focus more on just figuring out why people think the way that they do, all this would go away. So as far as just going away from the plantation, I was never really on it. I've always been more or less just in the middle. And then it wasn't until...
Were you walking around the edge of the plantation kind of? You're like looking, you're like, no, I'm going there.
And I think I was also more in the middle because of the fact that I'm Hispanic. On the right, it's, immigration, illegals. So it's like growing up with people that were illegal and people that came from Mexico, like I didn't want to go against that because those are my people.
Are you
so
Mexican?
That's why
Are you Mexican? Oh,
yeah,
duh! Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was like, well, maybe he's like, from, has Honduran roots or like, I forgot, I'm retarded. Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. I made that mistake too because like growing up, I would say, hey, what's up, dude? Like, are you Mexican? They're like, no, I'm Venezuelan. And I'll be like, well, isn't it the same thing? Like, don't we all speak Spanish? So
yeah, like, no, like, I'm Nicaragüense. Like, oh shit, like
right, tortillas, it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to be honest, it wasn't really that until I started working more on myself and getting really into philosophy and psychology till I really started getting more more on the right, because to me that's really the only difference between the left and the right. The right's more about personal responsibility, and the left is more about trying to figure out who's the victim and who's the oppressor.
Yeah, and and now that I'm, and I thought I was awake on a lot of things, and I feel like this election has made me more awake, and I want to reiterate that I didn't vote for either party. Because at the time, I was done with voting. I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Hillary's going to steal it anyway. Fuck her. I don't like her. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But
a lot of people thought that Hillary was going to win.
And but now that I've seen the reaction, and then I actually went back after the election, and I start watching a lot of Trump interviews and his speeches and stuff. And I was like, wow, he's not saying anything what the news is saying that he's saying. They're lying. I mean, I knew that they lied before that, and a lot of times they lied by admission or everything, but now they're just making stuff up, like just out of the blue. So I didn't, what was I going to say? Yeah, and I didn't really realize, I still think I still have some libertarian values, some liberal values. I wouldn't say leftist, but I am acknowledging the fact that the right seems to have this more like stance on personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. And I like that. I think it's very healthy. And the left is just like blame everybody but myself, and that's just it's unhealthy. And maybe there needs to be a new party that's created or something, What do you think? I want to ask you, what do you think of legalizing drugs to get rid of the cartels? Do you have any opinion on that?
In California, they legalized weed, and immediately they taxed it. I think it's at 40%. So people are still going, the black market, because if you legalize a drug, it's through the government, and they're going to tax it for revenue. It's going to drive up the cost. So people wanting to get something at a cheaper price, the cartel's still going to be there. But at the same time, the end
legalize
will
it
be
and not tax
drug.
it? What if they legalize it but don't drive up the price? That's a good point. I never thought about that.
But would the government do that? Legalize drugs and not tax it? Probably not. Because that would be the only reason why they would legalize it, because that way they could tax it and get the revenue.
Man, I'm just thinking, but like, how could we end? Because I know, like, I've been to Mexico like 3 times. Have you been to Mexico?
Yeah, I've been there a couple times. When I was a kid.
I like Mexico. I love Mexican people. I know that Mexico has its own problems with corruption and stuff, and I'm just trying to think about, and that's why we have a lot of people that are legal coming over here. But I'm thinking about how would we fix it? How could they fix that? You know, I don't know. I don't really know. I need to know more about the history and stuff. I know like the cartels and that's a huge part of the corruption. Why, you know, people are leaving the country. I don't know if you had any ideas on that or any opinions.
Yeah, because like I said, like you, I'm pretty new to politics. I really didn't get into politics until after, Trump said that he was going to go into office. So I'm pretty much learning every single day. And a lot of people have told me that the reason why there's so much drugs in America is because the cartels, and that we're complicit in that. Also, our government
but I mean, it's not us. It's the shadow government, the globalists, all that stuff. It's all their game,
I think the thing that we have to do is we have to be able to separate the shadow government, the elites, between like regular politicians, the ones that truly want to make change. I think people think, oh, they're all just the same, but they're really not just the same. There's some of them out there that like Ron Paul. He's not popular.
Oh, I love him.
But he's honest.
Yeah.
He was against the spending bill that Trump put out, because he said, look, it's not a conservative. It's not a conservative agenda. So I believe just being more honest in politics. But as far as Mexico goes, there's so many problems in Mexico, and by bringing in all this mass immigration, it's not helping.
Yeah, it's not. But I would like to see Mexico get their stuff together too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would like to see. I mean, everybody get their shit together. But and I think even as a country, maybe it's a thing about taking personal responsibility. Because even with this election and Trump, it's like, if people didn't vote for them and Hillary became president, then and our country went to hell, then we'd have to look at ourselves as a country and be like, where do we go wrong? So not just personal responsibility as a person, but personal responsibility as a collective, as a country, to take us, where we need to be.
I think what we're doing is a start. Because, like I said, Stefan, he inspired me to do this because he does a lot of politics now, but before, when I first started watching him, he just did philosophy.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked about him. And then he got into politics, and everything just blew up, and everybody's doing videos, and I think it's just, like you said, more or less just questioning, personal responsibility. What's the role of government? What's the role of the community? What's my role as a mother, father, husband? And just, taking that and building upon that.
Yeah.
Because what I thought was going to happen was, I knew Trump was going to win. I'm not going to say I'm like a magician or anything, but like, in my political science class during the election, my Republican teacher said, oh, there's a 0% chance he's going to win.
What?
And how are you really going to say that when a bunch of... Because I would go on YouTube and I would see all these people and on Facebook saying Trump, Trump, Trump. And it's like, how are you going to sit here and say the guy has no chance of winning? And what I thought was going to happen was once he won, people were going to be like, oh my God, like, he actually won. How did he win? The media was wrong. And then we were going to grow and have conversations like what we're doing now. Then we're going to... But the media just went even harder. Like, the media is on every day. Every day it's Trump this, Trump that, this white guy did this. And I think it's just really up to us just having conversations.
I can believe it. I'm like, oh, it's time for some introspection, not.
Nope. It's popular.
Yeah, man. It's been really interesting. I know I was gonna ask you, since you watch Stefan Molyneux. I used to watch him a lot because I love the philosophy that he was doing, and then he started talking about race and IQ, and I'm over it. I got over myself, but I was offended for a while. I was like, "Fuck Stephen Molyneux, whatever." Like, you know, that I stopped listening for, and then I found my way back to him. I was like, "Oh, I was being stupid." But what do you think about the whole like race and IQ thing?
I actually watched that, and like I said, you know, like you, when I heard about that, I was like, well, according to that, I'm kind of in, you know, on the lower end because according to that, it's what the Jewish are at the top, then it's Asians, then it's whites, then it's Hispanics, and then it's blacks. And what I took from it, because he would interview people that would talk about it, there is a difference between race and IQ, but it goes back to the culture of where blacks were raised, where Hispanics were raised, where Asians were, and how they had to go about their daily lives, and you know which cultures were more primitive, and which ones ended up becoming more advanced. And I think if you focus on the culture, the IQ is going to go up. Because when he would say that they would take some guy from Africa and put him in Europe, and he had the same exact IQ, even though he was in a rich household, how can you deny that? You know, but I mean, I still think the science is still out on that. But as
Yeah.
far as the statistics go, you can't really argue with the numbers.
Do
Politically,
you think that some of it, a lot of it's subjective too,
Mhm.
as to what is smart? Because you know, I also look at a lot of primitive people, and you look at people that have built, you know, they can build certain houses and make certain things, and they have this relationship with nature. That's an intelligence as well
Mhm.
that people don't really take into account. You know, they have knowledge of herbs and healing, and you know,
I mean, just because you're smart doesn't mean you're going to be at the top. I mean, you're going to. There's studies that say the higher IQ is the more money you make, but I've met some pretty stupid smart people that are like smart as hell.
they have no common sense. They know how to memorize and
Exactly.
regurgitate information, but they don't have critical thinking skills.
Yeah. So if anything, IQ shouldn't be regarded as much as it is now. I mean, just because I'm black or Hispanic doesn't mean I don't have a value to society.
Yeah.
You know, like personally, I don't. I mean, I know I'm not the smartest guy in the world. That doesn't make me feel inferior.
Yeah.
You know, so if somebody says that, this.
But then who decides what is smart and who's smart, and you know what I mean? That's the thing too. It's like what, you know, like just because you all these elitists, these technocrats, you know, that you know are building things and making technological advances, but yet they're destroying nature. You know, they're destroying the fabric of our society. Like I don't know if you know about he was one of the heads of I think Facebook. His name is Tarmath Palihapitiya, that came out and basically was saying that he's realized what social media has done to the fabric of society. He doesn't let his children use social media and everything. So it's like they have this knowledge on one end where they can make incredible things, but at the same time they don't have the wisdom to go with it. And to me, that's not true intelligence. You got to have a really good balance of wisdom and knowledge, you know.
Yeah, well, that goes to philosophy. There's a difference between being smart and being wise. You know, you couldn't ingest a lot of things and learn a bunch of things. We have to be able to apply it too.
Yeah.
And there's people that aren't the smartest people in the world, but are very wise because they've lived through experiences in life and they know how to handle certain situations, and that's a form of intelligence in itself.
Yeah, for sure.
But as far as IQ, that's for the geniuses and the nerds, and those are the ones that figure out all the things that I mean, look right now we're having a conversation.
A lot of them can't relate to people. A lot of them
Yeah.
can't relate to people. You don't have emotional intelligence. If you have all of these ideas and you can synthesize all this information, but you can't relate it to people, or people aren't going to work with you. B, you're not going to really be fulfilled because you can't develop relationships with people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you ever see that movie Amadeus?
Amadeus? I've never seen it.
Yeah,
what is it about?
About Mozart.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Okay, yeah, you check it out. So basically, it was based, supposedly, I mean, who knows, right? But it's a biopic of Mozart, and basically, he was this genius at music, but he was like retarded at everything else, like relationships and money, and just he couldn't do shit other than music. It was crazy. So I don't know, just bringing that up, I thought it was a good movie. One of my favorite movies.
That's one thing that I noticed is that they say if you're smart, a lot of times you're lonely because you can
say that what? You're smart what?
If you're like super intelligent, they say a lot of geniuses are lonely because then they don't have people to engage with because they have all these ideas and they create all this stuff, they just don't have people they can associate with because they just, if anything, they get this mentality where they're up here at top and the things that they're focusing on, everybody else is focusing on something completely different. Like me, it's like I work, I go to the gym, and I read philosophy and psychology and do politics. There's probably people out there that would say I'm probably not that much of a social guy, even though I think I am. Yeah. But
well, you choose who you're around. You choose your company, based on your interests. But there are not a lot of people that are interested in that stuff. It's hard to find people to engage with. But maybe you can. There are also people that could come down to earth, and you can, be silly. I try and be silly and stuff too. Like I'm into philosophy and all these other things up here. But I also have friends that we just go watch comedians and do silly shit. You know what I mean? Like you got to learn how not to take yourself seriously too. So I think even if you're a genius and you have all these ideas and you say you're lonely, like I think maybe you need to not take yourself so seriously and also just learn to have fun. Huh?
Just find that balance.
Yeah, find that balance. Like I like a crazy comedy movie or just like or a comic book movie or whatever, like eye candy, like I try and also find things where I'm not too in my head, so I'm not I'm not so much of a I guess you could get like that. You're like, oh well, nobody else listens to Stefan Molyneux and Jordan Peterson and they're just losers. They're just whatever. I'm smarter than them. There are people that do get their head up their ass though too, and they need to just bring it out. I would say.
I was talking more or less of because when you were bringing up race and IQ, like don't put IQ so high up on the bar of life because that's what I was saying. A lot of people that are super super smart, they don't have very close relationships because of where they are, because they're in a whole different plane of thinking.
Yeah.
They never develop personal relationships and how to work with people, and it's like
I also think that that IQ has to do with a lot with I think you did say this. You said culture, but I'm thinking maybe perception. Because when I went to Taiwan, there was this guy that I would follow on YouTube, and he was black, and he spoke Chinese, and he's a polyglot, and he moved to Taiwan. I think his wife is Taiwanese, but he was saying when he was gonna move over there, his family was like, "Oh man, like why you want to go over there? Like they don't like us. They don't like black people. They don't like." And then he said he went over there, and he was like, "It was amazing." And I think a lot of people too that are, what do they call it, homogeneous, that like usually kind of one race, they have different other races and stuff mixed in, but mostly they don't really get to see black people. So they're not necessarily racist, they're just very curious. Mm-hmm. So he was like, he went over there and it expanded his mind. It expanded my mind as well too. Had I listened to people, I wouldn't be learning different languages. I wouldn't have different friends. I wouldn't, and I think that's expanded my mind. But I think if you just have this mindset that, like, going back to the whole fear thing, where everyone's out to get you, you can't go anywhere, then you can't even travel outside your country. You don't even want to travel outside your neighborhood, outside of your state, because you're worried that somebody's going to get you. So then you're not exposing yourself to new things, and you just kind of live your life in a bubble, and that makes you very not as smart as you can be, I guess. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I guess I should start wrapping it up. I want to ask you, what are your hopes and visions for America? What are your dreams? What do you want to see America come to be in the future?
Pretty much what we talked about, just being more in the middle. And you brought up the fact that it would be nice if there was more of like a third party. In college, I actually wrote a paper on that because they had us write a paper about the Electoral College and whether you think it should be abolished, whether you think we should have it. And I just went totally off tangent and said it doesn't matter about the Electoral College or the popular vote. We need to be able to have a voice to where you have the left, you have the right, and then you have the middle, and then you have the left and right fighting for the votes that the middle might get, because deep down I think we're all in the middle. We're just thrown to the left or to the right, whether you're a man or a woman. Oh, you're white, you're supposed to be on the right, or you're black, so you're a Democrat automatically. Yeah, totally. My hope is for people to just have more conversations, be open, And don't worry about being afraid. If you talk to somebody and they prove you wrong, that's okay, because if you grow, if you're proven wrong and you learn from it, it makes you a better person.
Definitely.
You know, but it's that fear. It's that fear that gets people like, oh my God, they're gonna prove me wrong. My whole life's gonna fall apart. No, like you're gonna survive. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know, so just having, I guess, people from different perspectives is talking to one another.
For sure.
You know, have a conversation with somebody for an hour and just hash it out and disagree, but you're gonna find out you can agree on a lot of points. If you really talk to each other, you'll find out that we have so much more in common.
Yeah, most people want a place to live, sufficient food, love and support with friends, fun, creativity. We really, it's just so weird that we can't find that middle ground, especially in today's climate, because we all want the same things. I wanted to wish you say congratulations to you and your wife. You just got a baby, right?
Yeah, she's actually right here. She's.
Oh, hi! Hi! Oh. So yes, and you're pretty awesome. So I'm sure that your wife is even more awesome, because they say behind every awesome man is an even more awesome woman. So congratulations. Where could everybody find you? Tell them all your stuff.
You just check me out on Facebook, Conservative Mexican. You're going to post this, right, on yours?
Yeah, I'm going to post it on mine, and then I'll send you the link, and then, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to do YouTube and Facebook. I just started a Facebook fan page, Conservative Mexican. I would make videos, and people would ask me, hey, where'd you get this article from? So I figured I'd make a Facebook fan page. Okay. So after I make a video, I post a link of every article that I do a video from, and then I, do a little commentary on there. But just YouTube and Facebook, Conservative Mexican.
All right. That's fine. All right, guys, that's it. We're done. We're wrapping it up. All right, I'm so glad we got to connect. I'm so excited. All right.
It's my and honor.
Yeah, me too. All right, talk to you later. Peace and love, guys. Bye.
All right, take care. Bye.
Stay on for a second.